First contact's price. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the EFS Defiant Dawn, her expression unchanged as the holographic display showed yet another Raxan observation post being discovered in the Kuiper Belt. This marked the seventh such installation found in the past month, each more sophisticated than the last. The aliens had been watching humanity for years, perhaps decades, without detection. Until now. Admiral, Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his fingers dancing across the quantum interface. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the observation post. They appear to be initiating some kind of transmission. Chen's jaw tightened. The Defiant Dawn represented humanity's best-kept secret, a quantum-phase battleship capable of manipulating spacetime itself. Until now, Earth had maintained the facade of being a relatively primitive spacefaring species, all while preparing for the moment their watchers would reveal themselves. They finally realized we can see them, Chen murmured, more to herself than her crew. Signal the Perseus and Artemis. Execute Formation Delta. It's time to show our visitors exactly what they've been missing. The bridge crew worked with practiced precision as the massive vessel's quantum core hummed to life. Outside, space itself seemed to ripple as the ship's phase shift drive engaged. The Defiant Dawn didn't just move through space, it moved with it, bending reality around its hull like a cosmic dancer leading the universe in a waltz. The Raxan observation post, a crystalline structure that had masqueraded as a simple comet for years, suddenly erupted with activity. Energy readings spiked as its stealth systems failed one by one, revealed by the Dawn's advanced sensors. Multiple ships emerging from hyperspace, Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the tension. Raxan signatures, 3 carriers, 6 destroyers. They're forming a defensive perimeter around the observation post. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Raxans had finally shown their hand, and it was exactly as intelligence had predicted. Their ships were beautiful things, organic-looking vessels that seemed to have been grown rather than built, their hulls shimmering with bioluminescent patterns that served as both armor and communication arrays. Open a channel, Chen ordered. All frequencies, full spectrum. The communications officer nodded, and Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Fleet ship Defiant Dawn. You have established unauthorized surveillance installations in sovereign human space. You will power down your systems and prepare to be boarded, or we will be forced to demonstrate exactly why your observations have been so fundamentally flawed. The response came quickly, a cascade of crystalline tones that the ship's AI translated into English. This is Overseer Cax Tull of the Raxan Eternal Fleet. Your species has been monitored for potential inclusion in the galactic hierarchy. Your detection of our observation posts is unexpected. However, your demands are meaningless. You possess no technology capable of threatening our vessels. Stand down, and we will consider this show of initiative in your evaluation. Chen's smile widened slightly. Overseer, I'm afraid your data is outdated. Allow us to provide you with more current information. Dawn actual to all points. Execute. The space around the Defiant Dawn shimmered as its quantum field expanded. To the Raxan sensors, it would appear as if reality itself was being rewritten. The massive human vessel seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, its position becoming a probability rather than a certainty. What manner of deception is this? Cax Tull demanded, the translation unable to hide the concern in their tone. No deception, Overseer. Just a demonstration of why making assumptions about other species can be dangerous. Chen nodded to her weapons officer. Target their primary carrier's propulsion systems. Minimal yield. We're making a point, not starting a war. The Defiant Dawn's quantum phase cannons fired. Not beams of energy or projectiles, but concentrated packets of altered spacetime that simply ignored the Raxan shields. Their flagship's engine cluster briefly existed in a state where its molecular bonds forgot they were supposed to hold together. The massive vessel drifted, its bioluminescent patterns flickering in distress. Impossible, Caxtol breathed. Our sensors indicate your species was barely capable of lunar colonization. Your sensors showed you exactly what we wanted them to see, Chen replied. For decades, you watched us, studied us, judged us, but you failed to understand a fundamental truth about humanity. We have never taken kindly to being observed without our consent, and we have never responded well to threats. The remaining Raxan ships moved to attack positions, their organic hulls pulsing with gathered energy. Chen merely shook her head. I wouldn't. The Dawn isn't alone. As if on cue, space rippled again. As the Perseus and Artemis dephased into normal space, their quantum fields synchronized with the Dawn's. The three human vessels now formed a perfect triangle around the Raxan fleet, each capable of attacking from multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Your observation posts have told you about our visible technology, our public space program, our apparent limitations, Chen continued. Now let me tell you what they missed. Humanity united after we detected your first probe. Every nation, every resource, every brilliant mind focused on a single goal, preparing for this moment. What you see now is the result of that unity. She paused, letting the implications sink in. We could destroy your fleet. Instead, I'm offering you a choice. We can either begin diplomatic relations as equals, or we can demonstrate exactly how much more your observations failed to reveal. The choice, Overseer, is yours. The bridge fell silent as they waited for the response. Chen knew this moment would reshape human history, either as the beginning of a new interstellar relationship or as the first shots in a war that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity. Finally, Caxtol spoke, their translated voice carrying a new tone, one of respect. Perhaps our evaluation protocols require revision. Admiral Chen, I am authorized to open diplomatic channels. Though I must warn you, there are others among my species who will not react well to this revelation. There always are, Chen replied. But that's a problem for tomorrow. Today, let's focus on establishing a foundation of honesty between our peoples, starting with you explaining exactly why you've been watching us all these years. As the diplomatic discussions began, Chen couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity had kept its secrets, played the long game, and emerged stronger for it. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating Earth was a mistake that wouldn't be made twice. The defiant Dawn's quantum core pulsed steadily, a reminder of how far they'd come and how far they might yet go. The age of hiding was over. The age of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage had begun. The enemy within. The grand chamber of the Raxan conclave churned with angry voices, its crystalline architecture amplifying the discord of a civilization in crisis. High Speaker Velnar watched from the central podium as the assembled representatives argued, their bioluminescent markings flashing colors of aggression and fear. The footage of the human quantum ships played again on the chamber's massive displays, a reminder of their collective failure. 3 centuries of careful observation rendered meaningless. Elder Mexdul's voice cut through the chaos. Our entire assessment protocol must be questioned. How many other species have hidden their true capabilities from us? The hierarchy's position as the galaxy's premier power structure is at risk. Velnar raised a limb, sending a pulse of calming blue light through the chamber's crystal walls. Perhaps that is precisely what we must examine. Our assumption of supremacy led to carelessness. The humans didn't just hide their technology. They studied us while we studied them. In the diplomatic quarter of New Geneva on Earth, Admiral Chen was facing the similar storm. The United Earth Council had convened an emergency session, and not everyone was happy with how first contact had been handled. You revealed our quantum phase technology without council authorization, Chinese Representative Zhang accused, his hologram flickering with barely contained anger. Decades of careful development, exposed in a single display of military bravado. Chen stood her ground, her uniform pristine under the harsh lights of the council chamber. With respect, Representative, I followed the first contact contingency protocols exactly as they were laid out. The Raxan response to detection matched pattern 3 of our scenarios. A show of superior force, followed by immediate diplomatic outreach, was deemed the optimal response. And now we face potential war with a species that spans hundreds of worlds, the Indian representative added, though her tone carried more concern than accusation. Our technological advantage may be significant, but their industrial capacity dwarfs ours. That's precisely why we revealed what we did, Chen countered, bringing up a holographic display of her own. The quantum phase ships were never our only advantage. While the Raxans watched our public space program, we were watching their entire civilization through the very observation posts they thought were secret. The room fell silent as data streams filled the air, transmissions intercepted from the observation posts, analyzed and decoded over decades, cultural information, technological specifications, political structures, all carefully gathered while the Raxans thought they were the only ones doing the observing. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiant Dawn, now stationed at the newly established diplomatic coordination point between Earth and Raxan space, Lieutenant Rodriguez worked through another encrypted transmission intercept. His eyes widened as the patterns emerged. "Admiral," he called over the secure channel. "You need to see this. We're detecting massive fleet movements in the outer Raxan territories. But they're not following standard hierarchy protocols." Chen's hologram materialized on the bridge, her expression grim. "Civil conflict. Worse, it looks like several factions are mobilizing simultaneously. Some are calling for immediate military action against Earth. Others want to establish a technological exchange program. And a third group." He paused, double-checking his analysis. "A third group is calling for the complete dissolution of the hierarchy itself. They're using our emergence as proof that the entire system of species evaluation and control is fundamentally flawed." Back in the Raxan conclave, Velnar received similar reports. The High Speaker's outer membrane pulsed with patterns of deep concern as more data poured in. The humans hadn't just revealed advanced technology. They had inadvertently triggered a philosophical crisis that threatened to tear the hierarchy apart. The humans must have known. Mexdol insisted, their crystalline form vibrating with intensity. This was their plan all along. Not to fight us, but to destroy us from within by exposing the contradictions in our system. "No," Velnar responded, a revelation slowly forming. "They didn't plan this specific outcome, but they were ready for anything. Think about their approach. The measured display of force, the immediate offer of diplomacy, the careful release of information. They've demonstrated not just technological sophistication, but strategic wisdom." In a secure bunker deep beneath the Himalayas, a small group of human leaders met in person. No holograms, no electronic records. Admiral Chen's image filled them in on the developing situation. "The Raxan hierarchy is facing an existential crisis," she reported. "But that's not our primary concern. We've detected quantum wake signatures at the edge of our sensor range, patterns that don't match either human or Raxan technology." The room grew tense as the implications sank in. "You're saying there's another player," the UN Secretary General stated. "Yes, someone else has been watching. And given the timing of their movements, they've been waiting for exactly this moment, when the hierarchy begins to fracture and humanity emerges as a new power." The Secretary General leaned forward, her face illuminated by the soft glow of old-fashioned light panels. "Your recommendations, Admiral?" "We need to accelerate our timeline. The quantum phase ships were phase 1 of our emergence strategy. I recommend we begin phase 2 immediately." "The technological sharing initiative?" "No, sir. The defensive alliance proposal. Because whatever's lurking out there in the dark, I don't think they're planning to send a diplomatic delegation." As if to punctuate her words, new alerts began flashing across the Dawn's tactical displays. More quantum wake signatures, stronger now, moving with purpose toward both human and Raxan space. The game had changed. What started as a carefully managed first contact was evolving into something far more complex. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage only to find that the play was already in motion, with actors they hadn't even known existed waiting in the wings. In the depths of space, aboard vessels that bent light itself around their hulls, ancient eyes watched the unfolding drama with keen interest. Humanity had surprised the Raxans. Soon, they would all learn what it meant to be truly surprised. Checkmate in the void. The quantum wake signatures materialized into reality with a ripple that sent sensors screaming across 3 sectors. Admiral Chen watched from the Defiant Dawn's bridge as the unknown vessels emerged, sleek, dark shapes that seemed to drink in light itself. They weren't hiding anymore. 17 vessels, Rodriguez reported, his hand steady despite the tension. Configuration unknown. They're arranged in a formation we've never seen before. It's almost like a web. Chen finished. They're not just positioning for attack. They're creating a quantum containment field. She'd seen the theoretical models for such a strategy, but implementing it should have been impossible. Get me a channel to High Speaker Velnar. Now. The Raxan leader's crystalline form shimmered into view beside her. Admiral Chen, we're detecting the same formation on our long-range arrays. Our analysis suggests they're trying to trap us both, Chen interrupted. The quantum field they're generating will disrupt both our phase technology and your bioluminescent systems. They've studied us both, probably for longer than we've been watching each other. The bridge crew worked frantically as more data poured in. The unknown ships moved with impossible precision, their dark hulls reflecting no light, no energy signatures, nothing that would betray their technological nature. They were holes in space, moving with purpose. Message incoming, Rodriguez called out. Text only, encrypted with, "This can't be right." It's using a hybrid of human quantum algorithms and Raxan crystalline patterns. The message appeared on both Chen's and Velnar's displays simultaneously. The experiment has concluded. Isolation protocols have failed. Integration will now begin. Admiral. Velnar's translator conveyed urgency in their tone. These vessels match ancient records from the early days of the hierarchy, records we dismissed as myths. The predecessors. Chen's mind raced. Humanity's intelligence gathering had uncovered references to these beings, the supposed original architects of the galactic power structure. But they were thought to have vanished eons ago, leaving only the hierarchy as their legacy. They haven't been gone, Chen realized. They've been watching, waiting to see if their system of controlled species development would work. And now they've decided to take a more direct approach. Velnar finished. The dark ships began their approach, the quantum containment field strengthening with each passing moment. Soon, both human and Raxan vessels would be trapped, their most advanced technologies rendered useless. But Chen smiled. You know what your predecessor's greatest mistake was? She asked, not waiting for an answer. They assumed technology was everything. Dawn actual to all points. Initiate Protocol 0. Across the battlefield, human ships began powering down their quantum drives. The sophisticated technology that had so impressed the Raxans went dark, leaving the vessels seemingly defenseless. Admiral, what are you doing? Velnar demanded. Something very human, Chen replied. We're cheating. Lieutenant Rodriguez, show them what a century of paranoid preparation looks like. The human ship's hulls suddenly bristled with what appeared to be primitive chemical rockets and kinetic weapons, technology that should have been centuries obsolete. But these weren't ordinary weapons. The quantum technology was never our only development path. Chen explained as her ships took up new positions. We created backup systems based on principles so old, so simple, that they'd be overlooked by any advanced scanning system. Sometimes the best way to advance isn't to go forward, it's to go back. The Defiant Dawn shuddered as its secondary systems engage. Rockets designed to look primitive but containing ultra-compressed antimatter warheads. Rail guns firing projectiles laced with microscopic quantum filaments. capable of shredding space-time itself once they penetrated a target's hull. "Hi, Speaker," Chen addressed her alien counterpart. "I'm sending you specifications now. Your bioships can adapt quickly. Modify your energy weapons to match these frequencies. They won't be looking for such basic attack patterns." Understanding dawned in Velnar's crystalline form. The predecessors had built their containment strategy around neutralizing the most advanced technology both species possessed. They never considered that their targets might willingly downgrade their capabilities. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. Human vessels, seemingly primitive, launched salvos that twisted through quantum fields as if they didn't exist. Raxan ships, their sophisticated biotechnology reconfigured to mimic ancient weapon systems, struck from angles that should have been impossible to calculate. The predecessor vessels, for all their advanced technology, found themselves facing an enemy that refused to fight according to the rules of modern space warfare. Their quantum containment field, designed to neutralize specific technological approaches, proved useless against weapons that operated on principles older than some civilizations. "Target their field generators," Chen ordered. "Don't try to overpower them. That's what they'll expect. Instead, create chaos in their formation. Disrupt their geometric precision." The hybrid human Raxan force moved like a swarm of angry insects, their seemingly primitive weapons concealing cutting-edge surprises that the predecessors' defensive systems simply weren't designed to handle. One by one, the dark ship's perfect formation began to break down. "They're retreating," Rodriguez announced, disbelief clear in his voice. "The quantum wake signatures are. They're running." The bridge erupted in cheers, but Chen kept her eyes on the tactical display. "Hi, Speaker, are you seeing this? They're not just retreating. They're leaving behind data packets, massive ones." Velnar's form pulsed with excitement. "Information dumps, possibly their entire historical database. Admiral, I believe we just passed their real test." Chen understood. The predecessors hadn't come to destroy or conquer. This had been one final examination, not of technology or military might, but of the ability to adapt, to cooperate, to think beyond the expected paths of development. "They wanted to see if we could work together," she mused. "If we could overcome our differences and find solutions that neither of us would have discovered alone." As the dust settled and the combined fleet began recovery operations, Chen couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. The predecessors' data would unlock mysteries both species had puzzled over for generations. But more importantly, it had forced humans and Raxans to look past their initial distrust and find strength in their differences. The game had changed again. But this time, they would face whatever came next together. The bridge between stars. Dr. Maya Patel stood before the holographic display in the Joint Human Raxan Research Center, watching as patterns of light danced through the crystalline matrix that the Raxans had built to decode the predecessors' data cache. 3 weeks had passed since the battle, and every day brought new revelations that threatened to reshape their understanding of the galaxy. "The encryption isn't just complex," she explained to the assembled team of human and Raxan scientists. "It's alive. Each data packet contains genetic algorithms that evolve based on how we approach them. They're testing us even now." Beside her, the Raxan scientist Kexler's crystalline form pulsed with patterns of frustration and excitement. The predecessors wanted to ensure that only species working in true harmony could access their knowledge. "Our individual approaches keep failing, but when we combine them..." The display shifted, showing successful decryption rates when human quantum computing methods were merged with Raxan biosynthetic processes. It wasn't just cooperation. It was true synthesis, creating something entirely new from their combined technologies. Admiral Chen watched from the back of the room, her presence requested for this briefing by both species leadership. The implications of what they were discovering went far beyond scientific curiosity. "Doctor," she called out, "you mentioned something about a warning in the first decoded packets." Maya's expression darkened. "Yes, Admiral. The predecessors didn't just vanish. They were running from something. Something that exists between galaxies, in the void itself. They called it. She checked her notes. The closest translation would be the hunger between stars. The room fell silent. On the massive display, decoded snippets of predecessor data painted a chilling picture. Ancient star systems going dark not from natural causes, but from something that devoured light itself. A threat so fundamental to the nature of spacetime that the predecessors, with all their advanced technology, could only flee. The hierarchy wasn't just a system of control. Kexler realized, their crystalline surfaces rippling with enlightenment. It was a development program, creating species that could potentially face this threat. Each civilization guided along different technological paths, developing unique approaches that might succeed where the predecessors failed. Chen finished. And now they've given us their data because together, we did something they couldn't. We thought outside their technological framework. Maya nodded, bringing up new displays. The combined human-Raxan approach unlocked something they left for us. Coordinates, astronomical data pointing to, well, to put it simply, they found the hunger's point of origin. And they've left us plans for something they never dared to build. The holographic display shifted again, showing schematics that made even the seasoned scientists gasp. It was a machine that defied conventional physics, combining principles that neither humans nor Raxans had fully grasped yet. But together, with the predecessors' guidance, they might be able to construct it. They called it the bridge, Maya continued. Not just a weapon, but a tool to repair damaged spacetime itself, to heal the wounds that the hunger creates. But building it would require resources beyond anything our species have ever attempted to combine. Chen stepped forward, studying the schematics with a tactical eye. How long until the hunger reaches the galaxy's edge? Based on the predecessor data, 50 years, maybe less. The Admiral's expression hardened. Then we have 50 years to unite not just our species, but every civilization in the hierarchy. To pool our resources, combine our technologies, and build something that the most advanced species we've ever encountered could only theorize about. In orbit above the research center, the Defiant Dawn maintained its vigilant watch. Its quantum drives have been modified using insights from the predecessor data, making them more efficient than ever. But Rodriguez, monitoring the long-range sensors, noticed something odd. "Admiral," he called over the secure channel. "We're detecting anomalies at the edge of our sensor range, areas where stars seem to be flickering." Chen's blood ran cold. "Dr. Patel, could the predecessor's time frame be wrong?" Maya's hands flew over the interface, correlating data with the ship's sensors. The calculations were based on old data. If the hunger's rate of expansion has increased, we don't have 50 years, Kexler finished, their crystalline form darkening with concern. The void between galaxies isn't as void as we thought. The hunger has been building bridges of its own, shortcuts through spacetime. Chen looked around the room, at humans and Raxans working side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of a threat beyond their comprehension. "Then we build the bridge faster. Dr. Patel, you have whatever resources you need. Kexler, contact the hierarchy. All of them. Make them understand what's coming. And if they don't believe us," Maya asked, "then we show them." Chen's voice was firm. "The same way the predecessors showed us. We demonstrate what's possible when we stop fighting each other and face the real enemy together." As if in response to her words, another sensor alert came through. More stars were flickering at the galaxy's edge, like candles in an invisible wind. The race against extinction had begun, and humanity's first allies would be the very species that had once watched them in secret. The bridge between stars wasn't just a project name anymore. It was their only hope for survival. And its construction would either unite the galaxy or mark the final chapter in a story that had begun eons before humans looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. Tomorrow's alliance. The bridge took shape in the void between Earth and Raxan space, a structure that defied conventional description. It wasn't just a machine or a weapon. It was a fusion of multiple civilizations' dreams, fears, and hopes. After 6 months of non-stop construction, the massive project had become a symbol of what was possible when species worked together. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge's central observation deck, watching as crews from 24 different species worked in perfect harmony. The hierarchy had finally united, not through force or fear, but through the undeniable evidence of the approaching hunger. "The quantum core is stable," Maya reported, her hologram appearing beside Chen. "The Raxan biocrystals have fully integrated with our phase technology. We're seeing efficiency rates that the predecessors only theorized about." "And the void anomalies?" Maya's expression tightened, spreading faster than expected. "We've lost contact with 3 deep space monitoring stations in the past week. The hunger is no longer trying to hide its approach." The bridge's internal systems hummed with power as new energy readings appeared on the massive display. The structure's quantum crystalline hybrid core pulsed with possibilities, each beat representing calculations that would have taken traditional computers millennia to process. "Admiral," Rodriguez's voice came through, "the Defiant Dawn sensors are picking up something new. The stars aren't just flickering anymore. They're changing frequency. It's like they're trying to tell us something." Chen finished. She turned to Maya. Could the predecessors have left more than just data? Could they have seeded the stars themselves with information? Before Maya could respond, the bridge's core suddenly flared. Streams of data cascaded across every display, star charts overlaying quantum formulae overlaying genetic codes. The hunger wasn't just consuming light. It was consuming information itself, the very fabric of reality that made existence possible. "This was never about building a weapon," Maya whispered, her eyes wide with realization. "The bridge isn't meant to destroy the hunger. It's meant to communicate with it. The predecessors didn't run away. They transcended, became something else, trying to understand what they were facing." High Speaker Velnar's crystalline form materialized in the chamber, accompanied by representatives from every major species in the hierarchy. The data patterns match ancient religious texts from a dozen worlds, stories of beings who became pure energy, pure thought. "We dismissed them as myths. But myths often contain kernels of truth," Chen said. She stepped forward, studying the cascading data with new eyes. "The hunger isn't evil. It's curious. It's been testing boundaries, trying to understand our reality just as we try to understand it. And now," the bridge shuddered as space itself seemed to bend around it. Through the observation windows, they could see it. A darkness deeper than the void, moving with purpose. The hunger had arrived. "All species, battle stations," Chen ordered, but Maya raised her hand. "Wait. Look at the core readings. The bridge is doing exactly what it was designed to do, creating a space where different forms of existence can meet, can understand each other." The darkness approached, but it didn't attack. Instead, it seemed to study the bridge, probing it with tendrils of unlight that danced across the quantum crystalline surface. "It's learning," Velnar observed, their form pulsing with excitement. "And through the bridge, we're learning too. The predecessors didn't give us weapons. They gave us a key to understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself." Chen watched as the bridge's systems began translating the hunger's probings into comprehensible data. It wasn't a mindless force of destruction. It was a collective consciousness from another dimension, trying to understand why its attempts to study our universe were causing so much damage. "Open a channel," Chen ordered. "All frequencies, all methods of communication we've developed. Let's show it what humanity and the hierarchy have learned about bridging differences." The next few hours would be written into the histories of 1,000 worlds. Through the bridge, built by the combined efforts of former enemies, humanity and its allies achieved what the predecessors could not: true communication with a force that had been misunderstood for eons. The hunger, they learned, could be taught to interact with our universe without damaging it. The bridge became a permanent embassy between realities, a testament to the power of cooperation and understanding. 1 year later, Admiral Chen stood in the same observation deck, watching stars that now pulsed with new energy, modified by the hunger's touch, but strengthened rather than destroyed. Beside her, representatives from every known species gathered to mark the anniversary of first contact with the trans-dimensional being they had once feared. "You know what the predecessor's real legacy was?" she asked Maya, who had become the bridge's chief scientist. "Not the technology, not the warnings, but the lesson that every problem has a solution if you're willing to look at it from enough different angles." Maya nodded, watching as streams of data flowed between dimensions through the bridge's systems. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't our quantum technology or our backup weapons. It was our ability to adapt, to question assumptions, to find common ground with those who seem different, and to teach others to do the same. Chen added, seeing human scientists working alongside Raxan crystalline forms, their combined efforts creating new technologies that neither species could have imagined alone. The Defiant Dawn maintained its patrol near the bridge, its quantum drives now enhanced by knowledge gained from their trans-dimensional visitors. But it was no longer just a warship. It had become a symbol of how far they all come from those first tense moments of contact. The galaxy had changed. The hierarchy had evolved into something new, not a system of control, but a network of cooperation. And humanity, the species that had hidden its advances for so long, had helped teach the stars themselves a new way to shine. Above them, the bridge continued its work, a monument to the truth that had saved them all. The greatest discoveries come not from conflict, but from the courage to reach across the void and find understanding in the darkness between stars.